hero's journeys throughout. I mean, even, for example, I'm writing about the Truman Show at present. And in the Truman Show, the true man, right, the true human, because he is the only actual non-actor, in this grand stage of Sea Haven, which, by the way, Sea Haven is an anagram for either a heaven or heavens, right? So it's this idea that heaven is hidden inside the watery abyss of matter, right? It's similar to Enoch transforming into Metatron, or Truman transforming from that of the quasi actor, the believer of the pantomime, into, in fact, the divine himself. It's similar, of course, to Orion, right? Orion is the headless god. He starts at the silver gate of the spring, and from that drunken ignorance, he thus grows ahead, right? The mutable elements of the four, the fire, air, which are the male, and the earth and water, which are the female, they are that which obfuscates the fifth element, which is the immutable element. It is the element which is the true objective reality. It's the element which is that reality which is beyond the senses, if you will, right?
Yep.
It's that which is hidden beyond perception itself, right? So it's effectively, in the journey, he goes from the Silver Gate to the Golden Gate, and in the Golden Gate there is Ophiuchus, or Orion, who is tangled with time, or the serpent, and who has broken its back. The serpent can also be his own thoughts too. And Ophiuchus stands upon Scorpio. Scorpio is this, it's the idea of the mark of death. It's also the idea of being stung, right? When you're stung within the dream, you either wake up, right? Or, well, you wake up and you gain a sort of sense of lucidity. So it's similar with the Godhead. If the Godhead of Orion is dreaming, right, has involuted himself into man and matter, then when he wakes up, he realizes who he is. There's a sort of, it's like the Om, right? There's just a certain tranquility, a sort of low vibrational hum of that peaceful, unaffected state, the state that is beyond all other states. So that would make sense within the idea of Metatron and Enoch. And
exactly. By the way, I just switched my mic. Am I good still? I had to change.
You're perfect.
All right, I had to put on the AC. It was getting too hot in here.
No, don't worry, man. Don't worry.
So what did Culty Talk just say? Is the reference to stung by the gadfly the same idea as this? Silas?
Stung by the gadfly. That rings a bell. Hold on, I'll look that up. Is that based upon the Gadfly novel by Ethel Lillian Voynich?
We will wait for a response.
Stung by the gadfly. Oh, a gadfly is a person who interferes with the status quo of a society or community by posing novel, potentially upsetting questions.
Greek mythology, the gadfly is also the tormentor of Pegasus.
Yeah, it's stung by the gadfly is a metaphor from Plato's Apology, where the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates compares himself to a gadfly that irritates a sluggish horse. Regarding Enoch, yes, it probably would be the same idea. In essence, it's going beyond the shadows of one's society. So it is becoming the gadfly which irritates the sluggish horse, which is the system itself. Or, it could be the civilization itself, but the civilization itself is based upon the ignorance of the pawns on the checkerboard. So those are that which maintain, they have the basis of power, right? We are the individuals within the system that which establishes and maintains the system, but it's by our own collective ignorance, our self-absorption. I mean, it can be a number of things, right? Or just some people are just completely content with their servitude. So again, they are the sluggish horse, right? That is similar to Orion being the headless dreamer. Those are the individuals which, don't unplug from the matrix. So yeah, stung by the gadfly, you're irritated into enlightenment by the uneasy questions of reality and your system and the system in which you live in.
There also seems to be like a very close tie to the fall of the Tower of Babel here. With it, it's because it says the gadfly in the one myth stings Pegasus, and Bellerophon falls back to Earth when he's trying to enter heaven, enter the realm of the gods, basically. So
interesting.
He flies too close to the sun, essentially, and falls.
Oh yes, yeah. Right. Yes, I see. Right, linking with Scorpio. Right. So the sting. Yes. Yeah. Well. Basically, it's this idea in terms. Well, it's actually it's the tower itself. So this would be better with a GIF. If you look up Bloch's quantum sphere, which is BLOCHS quantum sphere. Essentially, the way that
you still
time.
There?
Yeah. Hello. Can you hear me?
Salis.
Hello. Hello? Can you hear me?
Salis, Let me know if your mic is out.
No, my mic's still going.
Can anyone in the chat? My mic is still going. Have muted your headphones. Let me see.
Hello?
No, it's still on. What the hell? I'm not seeing yet any activity come out of your mic, Silas.
1 2 1 2 1 2.
Let me mute and unmute you. You want to? Should you bounce out and come back in?
Yeah,
because you could hear me, right? Technical difficulties. So you could hear both of us. That's weird. All right, he'll be right back. So Jake could hear both of us as well. At the stage, Silas. Yeah, now I could hear you. That's weird.
All right, that was.
Everyone could. Everyone could hear both of us. That's so strange. Of course, with StreamYard,
very
of course.
Peculiar.
Of course.
But, so discussing this idea of the sting. So essentially, the Scorpio as well. Think of it like this: that if we come from that singular point, the source of all potential, and then that differentiates itself, projects itself into a state of disparity, and it goes into this sort of think of it like a vertical spiral, and each layer, right, each iterative cycle, each level is getting wider and wider and wider. This is equating to its density, right? It's getting more and more and more dense until it reaches a point of its lowest potential density. That would be, we could say, our world, right? It's when potential becomes fully manifested into the tangibility of matter. Then, once the Godhead, the immanent essence of the God, the potential, the consciousness wakes up from its stupor of that low density world, then this idea of the scorpion or the sting of the gadfly, but more along the lines of the Scorpio, then it will sting Ophiuchus once more, who stands upon the scorpion, and the entire cycle will begin again. So it's that idea of cycles within cycles, resets and great resets. So it's that notion.
Yep.
But this will tie in with 3i Atlas as well, because basically the way that power functions is it utilizes this structure. And think of the layers of density as basically the 250-year cycle of most civilizations, right? There's greater cycles within that, right? But the 250 years of each civilization, effectively the civilization will start off as a singular energetic spark from a village or wherever it may be, a tribe. And it has a lot of potential and it cannot be contained. So these pioneers go out and start conquering things, right? But eventually, to maintain the civilization, you have to begin to create concentric layers of fiction and noble lies and pious fictions, right? To control the populace. Effectively, when you get right to the, the final moribund state of that civilization, when it's a decrepit old man, essentially, it conjures the most ridiculous, abstract, and absurd fictions. I mean, as we're reading from that quote, they're primed to believe the incredible, right?
Yep.
It's because the populace of, for example, late-stage Western civilization, they're so self-absorbed. They engage in navel-gazing to such a degree that... and meaning they don't see the outside world. They don't understand what the hell's going on even in their environment, right? They've got the blinkers on, so to say. The lights are on, but no one's home, that idea. They don't necessarily understand the total ridiculousness of their own culture because they have no reference point to anything else, or they're simply just so self-absorbed and snobbish that they don't actually take into account any other culture, even though they may profess that they do.
Well, I mean, and we're with America, you have essentially the new world culture being created or having been a project of it the whole time. So the goal is for it to be the only culture because it is going to be a conglomeration of all the cultures.
Yeah, the grey culture for the new grey men.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another thing as well, the way you see multiculturalism being touted. And it's actually one of the reasons that I oppose multiculturalism. And it's because, well, firstly, it's ultimately because it's unethical. And the reason it's unethical is that if you speak to most proponents of multiculturalism, they will state to you that, well, I mean, they will term it and phrase it in different ways, but ultimately the general framework is because we have this strong culture, if you will, right? And America certainly does have a lot of soft power still in terms of its, its cultural output in terms of Hollywood and such, right? And you're right in the thick of that. Well, you're near it, so
yeah.
You'll know that all of the Western culture is being manufactured there as we speak, and there's other places around America, but ultimately they believe that when these other cultures, when these immigrants come to the magic soil of the UK or the US or whatever, that they'll simply just become part of this consumeristic culture, this grey culture. So effectively, they're wanting to assimilate and destroy their cultures, or like the Truman Show, they want to commodify, and thus by commodifying it, cheapen the very essence of their culture to turn it into like what our cultures have been turned into. For example, Scotland, haggis and iron brew, and a perennial abuse of alcoholism. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
So they turn everything into a dilution of what its actual profound essence is. And it's the same thing with consumerism. It does the same thing with humanity. It cheapens humanity, again, because you have to cheapen it, you have to lessen it, you have to reduce it, so that you can thus package it, and you can mass produce it, and you can commodify it. So it's this really unhealthy obsession with commerce and commodification, and it's because people are self-absorbed. They don't really see a lot of people understand there are issues, but I don't think a lot of people fully understand the dimensionality of the problems, right? Because again, it's a lot of people are just they're happy with doing their 9 to 5 grind, and then, having their 2 days off to binge drink, or to, whatever they may be doing over the weekend. The banality of the wage
And I don't
slave.
even know if they're happy with it. It's almost now it's like they're miserable with it, but they don't even have a choice.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah. It was interesting. I was listening to an interview by a Russian soldier on the front line, Ukraine,
Mm-hmm.
and oh god, what's his name? Patrick Lancaster. He's a journalist anyway.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's an American journalist, but he's married to a Russian woman, so he basically knows the lingo, the Russian Ukrainian lingo. And anyway, he was speaking to this Russian soldier, and he mentioned that the way that a lot of Russians were commenting in the video, and they were saying basically this is how most Russians feel about the West and America, and it's that he said the way that they act, just geopolitically, and the way that their cultures are, and even their economies, and the way that they act to their international partners or whatever, it's almost like they're miserable. It's a culture, of miserable people,
Mm-hmm.
and though I don't want to be a self-flagellant, I don't want to just hate on the West. I think the West has a lot of good points to it, but there is a point there, and you just reiterated that. So it's there is a point that is they're miserable with it, but they're happy with the misery of it, because the misery is all that they perhaps know, right? So it's like a form of Stockholm syndrome has taken over.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like it's difficult, I think, to wrap your head around the idea, like for people to wrap their head around the idea of there being an alternative. Because I mean, it's even difficult for us sometimes to come up with alternatives for the system we find ourselves in. There's no pleasure without pain, essentially. So there's always going to be a little bit of a challenge, or because if you don't have that, life becomes just as miserable, just in the opposite direction.
Yes.
And I mean,
absolutely.
that's kind of what they're going to, I think, offer people. That'll be the alternative that's presented. Get rid of your pain, get rid of your problems. Don't worry about money anymore. Just come into the meta world, the metaverse. Come into our augmented reality world. Use your digital twin. We'll load up your bank account with fake money, and just do what we need you to do a few hours a day, and the rest of the day you can play video games and pretend you're in the real world.
Yeah, and you see, even the what you're hearing from Harari and such, right? Well, how do we deal with the useless class? Like what you're saying, video games, and keep them spinning on their fat fannies, 24/7 on drugs. So it's
Exactly.
Effectively, this is what I'm stating about late stage civilization. It becomes, and I don't know if I stated it already in this conversation, but I stated it in the other conversation I was in over on truthmeets.com, and it's that we're so utterly controlled by abstractions, right? Like when you start off with village life, it's very simple, right? up to 150 people, person tribes, right? It's very simple. Everyone knows everyone. You get up, you work hard. Everyone wants to have a family, children, defend the home, process the crops, till the soil, whatever it may be, hunt the deer. It's very simplistic tasks, and there's a sort of beauty in the simplicity of it all. But man, man, as his condition dictates, always wants more, right? There's always certain men that want more than other men, right? They want to be the prima inter pares, the first among equals. So it's the idea is that when you get to the cosmopolitan, mega cities, right? These 15-minute cities, this mass urban sprawl that just completely takes over all of the earth, like some source of neurotic cancer. They get completely controlled by abstractions. Yeah, they become self-absorbed, but there's a neuroses in their thinking. They almost go beyond. They become paralogical in their reasoning, meaning they hold contravening and self-contradictory beliefs, right?
Yeah, they have to.
State of cognitive dissonance. Yeah, they have to. They have to.
It's like the Kissinger thing. The quote: they hold the two contradictory ideas in their head, and I don't know if they recognize that they're doing this. So that's the only difference.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't even realize it. That's the absolute pure maddening state of the situation. But I mean, video games is essentially just an extension of that. Effectively, what you're doing is you're taking the paralogical reasoning, which reasoning by paralogy is essentially you go beyond. It's basically post-truth. You utilize instead of utilizing logic, you would utilize emotions, but you would still you could still hold, because you're not utilizing logic per se. Again, paralogic. You're going beyond logic. You're utilizing, say, emotions. You can hold these contradictory beliefs without it affecting you, right? At least mentally, because effectively, you've switched off your brain. You've went beyond truth. You went beyond logic. So the majority of people are in that state today. Why do I know that? Because, well, for example, let's take, I don't know, the whole androgynous agenda thing, right?
Yeah.
You can have trans women, right? So you can have men who transition into women, but at the same time, women do not exist. There's no definition of a woman. That is the literal definition of reasoning by paralogy, right? Why? Because the ideologues of, let's say, the androgynous agenda or just the woke crowd, they're not employing logic. They're employing paralogic, that which is beyond logic, emotion or ideology or whatever it may be, right? There's Farce Value brought up this idea of reification, which is similar to paralogy, it would seem, right? So it's this notion of going beyond truth. Just imagination runs wild.
Yeah.
But video games is exactly that. Effectively, you're going in you're not just using paralogic reasoning. You're actually going into a paralogical world, right? A world where, well, the absurd and fantastical become reality. And if you're on that 24/7, that will become your reality.
Well, and it's interesting too, because if you look at just that idea of holding the contradictory notions in your head and then not necessarily recognizing it, you have these soldiers already who've been doing this for however long with the drones, who are basically playing a video game and doing whatever they're doing, whether they're actually killing people or not, who the hell knows half the time. But obviously this has happened. And to them, they don't, like a lot of them now, at least, don't connect what they're actually doing to something happening in the real world. And for all we know, eventually it won't be happening in the real world if it's not already not happening in the real world.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, once you get to a point in video games where it becomes indistinguishable from reality, right? Not just as in people are playing it so much that it becomes indistinguishable, but when the graphics and the physics become indistinguishable from that of reality, then, I mean, you could in fact be a drone operator, and unbeknownst to you, you're actually killing people, but you just believe you're racking up a high score and racking up the kill streaks.
And that was the premise of, I think, the movie Gamer, right? I think it was called Gamer with Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler, yeah.
And they're actually playing like real inmates or whatever. They're real people who have been arrested and they don't even know that they're playing real people.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. You see the society. You also have that other game alongside it called I think it's Society, where women who are downtrodden and impoverished are essentially selling themselves as automaton sex dolls.
Oh yeah.
These avatars in the video game. So and these very perverted, obese couch potatoes are essentially utilizing them as meat puppets, right? Marionettes. So it's effectively what you're seeing there is a society that has gone down the tubes, right?
Exactly.
It's collapsed, but it doesn't know it's collapsed. It's almost like it's in a undead state, and it's in a state near the throes of death, and it's because they're so fixated on abstraction. They're wanting something from life that may actually it may not necessarily be there, right? Or it may not be accessible to human beings. Mm-hmm. So they become fixated on the abstract. And what's the abstract? The abstract, literally from its etymology, means to pull away or to draw away, to literally go adrift. So you go adrift into the, with the ship and the river, you go adrift within the ocean, that idea.
And a really good example of all of this, I think, is going to be what happens with the film Tron Ares that's coming out. I don't know if you've seen the trailer for that.
No, I have not actually. No.
So basically, Ronan, you want to come in? Basically, this is like, it's that film with Jared Leto. This is the Tron, I guess the third one now. That's going to be, Jeff Bridges is still in it. But basically, they bring the digital world into the real world, not the other way around. They make that's like what's said in the trailer. It's like you thought you were going to be brought into the digital, but no, we're bringing the digital virtual world into the real world. I wish we could watch it on here without getting a strike. I don't know if that's possible or not.
No, I don't think so. Not on YouTube, but that would be interesting to do on like alternative platforms.
Dude, it's really like, I think it's interesting. People are underestimating how much is going to be put in that film. I mean, the premise on Wikipedia reads is Tron Ares follows a highly sophisticated program, Ares, who is sent from the digital world into the real world on a dangerous mission, marking humankind's first encounter with AI beings. Alien beings, in my opinion.
Yeah, alien beings, exactly.
And and it's funny because if you remember the other Tron films, like they wear these huge like helmets, most of them, because most of them are riding motorcycles and they're playing this game apparently where they need the helmets, I guess. I don't know why, because they're not real. But the helmets remind you of like a spacesuit. And they have ships. Yes. They have space ships that they're coming in on as well.
Well, you also find as well, you find it in the Truman Show and even Bowie's Black Star, where the astronaut features heavily. I mean, the astronaut itself, etymologically it means, a sailor of the stars from Greek. So you have this sailor of the stars concept. I mean, whenever it's utilized, like in the Truman Show or Bowie's Black Star, it's always utilized as essentially the flesh suit, right? The astronaut suit is the flesh suit, which contains the sailor of the stars. Again, the sailor of the stars, because Orion goes upon the river Eridanus, so thus he's sailing down the river, the constellate river of the stars of the Eridanus, right? In his journey. So it's this idea too you see present there. I mean, the alien thing, even with AI. I mean, we're talking about the aliens in demonology. Elon Musk has already mentioned that, with AI we're dealing with a demon, right?
Yeah. I mean, they all have. Even and then we had his buddy Teal came out and was like saying the same thing, saying it's Antichrist, but nothing we could do about it. They all say the same thing.
Yes,
they know it. They know what it is. They have to.
Yeah. It's when you look at Harari, he actually discusses that it will become the new god. That's very interesting. And by the way, here's another thing from the ufology crowd. This is obviously from the 20th century, but it just shows you what they were thinking in terms of all of this. And oh God, where is it? I just had it. The quote. Here we go. The ufology religion is with no, sorry, hold on. Yeah. So yes, Jack Vallee in his 1989 book Dimensions, page 192, stated that the UFO contactees may be evolving prototypes of a future evangelism, and that the religions we have briefly surveyed began with the miraculous experiences of one person, but today they are thousands of whom the belief in otherworldly contact is based on intimate conviction, drawn from what they regard as personal contact with UFOs and their occupants. I mean, there's other ones where it discusses that, in essence, it's a religion. There's a new religion being created here. Here's one in Missler and Eastman's Alien Abductions, page 108 to 109. We read, I'll just synthesize this. Yes, these messages can include, in some cases, overt religious messages are given to abductees. These messages can include the notion that all aliens are our creators, that they are trying to advance our evolution through these breeding experiments, and that mankind must unify with their assistance into a system of global governance and religion in order to survive the future cataclysms or geophysical events. And it's exactly what Harari mentions in his various books, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, and also that of the Homo Deus. And he mentions that AI will become the new God, that the internet of all things. I mean, of course, you don't have to look very far to realize that the pantheon head of all various, be them polytheistic, henotheistic religions, they always exalted with the pantheon head, that deity, the chief deity. They would always provide him the appellation of Lord of all things, right? So it's because effectively he was the demiurge, right? He was the craftsman of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that same notion. But back to the idea of, we're being prepped for the incredible. We believe wholeheartedly now in abstractionism. In fact, that appears to be our new banner, our emblazoned banner, which we rally behind. It's the paralogical abstractions that, again, are self-contradictory, but we believe them anyway because they make us feel good and they allow us to virtue signal because we're just clutching at straws to provide our life any meaning, right? The 3-eye atlas idea. Now, I don't know if you want me to just jump right into all of this.
Before we do that, the
Yeah.
one Booty Yoga just said something that I was going to say when you were mentioning Harari, which I don't know if you saw. I didn't watch it, but I was going to. He was in a video talking about Israel's spiritual catastrophe they were currently facing. I don't know if you saw that video or not.
Interesting. I have not, no, but I'm looking at it right now.
I know. I have to watch it later.
October 7th, yeah. So it's...
Now, I don't know if I highly doubt he's going to be switching. Maybe Booty Yoga can give us like a couple line summary in the chat, but I highly doubt he's going to be actually switching his perspective and saying that they need to re-spiritualize themselves in Israel. I'm sure he's just going to be offering his alternative.
Yes, I wasn't actually aware of that. That's spiritual catastrophe. That's interesting. I would be interested to see what he actually means by that.
Yeah, I highly doubt he found God, but I mean that would be interesting if he did.
Well, this is the idea as well in Kabbalah. the whole idea of the tikkun is that man repairs God, right? So by that perspective shift, that God isn't repairing man is actually in fact repairing God.
Mm-hmm.
By that perspective shift, man is in fact not a subordinate to God. Man is not even an equal to God. Man is God. So it's these ideas. I mean, of course, Harari toys with that idea as well. Homo Deus, the God men.
Yeah.
He talks about it that, again, all Kabbalah really understands. It doesn't even have a conception of an afterlife. All it believes is the here and now, right? For better or worse.
Mm-hmm.
And it seeks to biodigitally and enhance, and of course, not just to enhance their own physical attributes, but to enhance their own longevity in terms of their mortality. They want to become immortal. That's the idea he also expresses as well. So they become the new God, right? And anyone who controls the oracular machines of AI, right, which will inevitably be that machine which we outsource our thinking to, by and large, is a way to suppress our own basic humanity, so we don't, rebel against the system. Whoever controls that oracular machine controls the world, Yeah. So you're getting into these types of territories. But yeah,
go ahead and into the 3-eye atlas now.
Right. So So it's interesting. So the 3-eye atlas, if I recall again, and just hold on, I just have to get the date here because I didn't make a note of it when the 3-eye atlas comet is coming around. Just give me a second. So yeah,
no problem, brother.
3-eye atlas will come closest to the sun. That's its periastron on the 29th of October 2025. Now, there's also another interesting thing as well. In 2027, if I recall, but it might be with the other comet. But anyway,
is that the date in 2027 that Chris Bledsoe, and everyone have been giving in the same sort of UFO community?
Yes,
with the lady, when the lady's coming back, apparently. This goddamn effing lady who sounds like a real fun time.
Oh yeah, life and soul of the party, man.
yeah, she sounds great. I can't wait to meet her. It's fucking insane, all these people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But that's what happens when you're reared on fiction, and you know it's a fiction, but you also tout it as though it's the truth. So you're locked in this. You become a child of the void. The +1, -1. The double speak eventually destroys you. It chips away and erodes your very mentality. But that I think that's where the 2027 thing is going to come in with the notes. So the 2027 idea is this: effectively, they will develop this 3-eye atlas, which will appear on the 30th of October. This is the idea, 2025, and this will perhaps be developed into the fiction of a fake alien invasion, right? Or it may be used as that. And like what we're saying with Avi Loeb, he will use absolutely anything, right? If it's not this one, it'll be another one that comes around, because it's one of the tools in their tool belt, right? It's one of the potential narratives that they can pull out of the the script writing box, so to say, right? So yeah, I stated 5 years was the prediction by the alt experts for the bioweapon platform that was in those elixirs to fuse with one's biological system fully, thus precipitating a mass inundation of death on a global scale. Right, that was one of the various predictions, if you will, right, at the time. Indeed, how curious it is then that the media and Loeb, another one of those particularly placed dual citizens, are shouting from the rooftops and enhancing the hysteria around the Three-Eye Atlas and the fake alien invasion. Truly, what a grand cover story that would be to act as a diversion for the greatest mass murder in human history. The strange things the mind ponders, though I suppose it will simply be another nothing burger, right? Could be that. Even the idea of touting the fiction as the bait, right? That what they're attempting to do is psychologically gauge if this has any sort of potential to seed and germinate within the minds of the masses, within the zeitgeist, right? If they're ready for it, if you will.
This is like exactly what we've talked about so many times on this channel, on your channel, that I've brought up from that book, Dark Doorway of the or Dark Shadow, either Dark Doorway of the Shadow of the Beast or Dark Shadow of the Beast. I can't remember what the title is, by Gareth Hewison May, where he talks about the funnel effect. And basically these ideas come in like an image train into a person's mind, and eventually one of them catches, and no matter how insane it is, that idea will manifest into reality, even if it's done artificially by the social engineers.
Yeah. Well, it's exactly what Immanuel Kant mentioned, that, and I wrote this down somewhere in my notes, that, we effectively, the objective reality is a noumenon. So the noumenon idea is that, I wrote this down, it's the thing in itself, right? It's the unbegotten thing. So it's the Das Ding an sich. It is the world as it truly is, right? So most people live the world as they experience it from the phenomenological perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to the noumenon, as it truly is, the objective reality. It's that which exists independently of one's perception and cognitive faculties. So it's
by the way, what was Annie Besant's, because Bodhi Yoga brought that up in the chat, I forget what her 2025 prediction was. Wasn't it like the return of the Maitreya 2025 or the Ascended Masters, one of these two things, and unified global religion?
Annie Besant.
Theosophical Society.
Oh, yeah. She, she died way back in like 33 or something, didn't she?
Yeah, I think she started the Lucius or Lucifer Trust, whatever. Right? She was I think that's her.
Annie Besant.
She was one of the Theosophical Society's leaders at one point. I know, like, Steiner called her a nut, pretty sure.
I'm not sure about Annie Besant and our prediction for 2025. I'd have to look into that. I'll look into that and I'll get back to him on it. But yeah, so the noumenon is that idea. So basically, we can't interface with objective reality, right? It's the moment that we actually engage with external reality, it's we through experience, our minds have already automatically imposed other conceptions upon it, right? So our mind doctors objective reality, so we can never truly parse it, we can never truly experience it. So the mind isn't just a passive receiver, it's it's an active organizer, it's it doctors things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So thus, all of reality. This is why they create all of the fictions, right? Because ultimately, if our minds are active organizers, projectors of reality, the reality itself is almost an a process of our own imagination. The ideas we project onto reality become, like what you're saying, reality. When you understand that concept, when you can, you know, when that becomes palpable to you, then you realize exactly what the hell they are doing with society. It becomes actually, I mean, society loses all of its spark because you realize it's a massive cosmic stage. It's a stage performance, both terrestrially and cosmically. Um, so yeah. So that's why they're doing things like this. You know, the 3-eye atlas, right? They're seeing what will germinate.
Yep.
They're like the carrot on the stick. But mentioning as well, the 1st of July also. So the 1st of July, that corresponded with another instance of this, right? This it's not its periastron, it's another phase of the comet. But anyway, the 1st of July also corresponds to the 5th of Tammuz in the Hebrew calendar. It's a Tuesday, and it marks the day of Ezekiel's vision of the chariot, interestingly, right? So,
yeah, of course, after we just mentioned Metatron and everything like that.
Yeah, exactly. So even the Merkabas, the chariots, these are very similar to UFOs, right? They're very similar to this extraterrestrial phenomenon that we see within our contemporary day. On the 5th of Tammuz of the year 332 Anno Mundi from creation, or 429 BC, Ezekiel, among the other prophets, um, to prophesize outside. Oh no, pardon me. Among the only prophets to prophesize outside of the Holy Land, beheld a vision of the divine chariot representing spiritual infrastructure or creation, right?
Mm-hmm.
He saw the throne, essentially, of Yahweh, which was this encasement of fire. Ezekiel's vision of the chariot, 429 BC. So yeah, I mentioned as well. So it's also known, by the way, as C/2025 N1, and was previously, this comet was known as A11 PLEZ, right? And
So
interestingly,
apples?
it does sound like apples, yeah. It does sound like apples.
How about them
So
apples, man?
how do you like
Jesus.
them apples? Yeah, exactly.
Literally, if that's sick, it couldn't be a bigger joke. But at the same time, this is what they do.
Exactly, yeah. And well, here's the thing as well. They were also mentioning there was, if you look at the Google searches for it and the news on it, there was a huge flurry of headlines, for this alien mothership / comet 3-eye atlas thing. Guess when? 113 days before it was to, its periastron, was to come closest to the sun. So again, 113, right? When was the crown event in 2020 sounded? It was declared on 11/3 or 3/11, March the 11th. This also relates to 11 days prior, which is the ritualistic. Well, it can pardon me, it can also link to when the changeover to the Gregorian, the Gregorian calendar occurred. There was an 11-day loss from the Julian calendar, right? On average, across Christendom. So that could account for the 11 days, because again, we had September 11th. That was 11 days prior to the autumnal equinox. And of course, Corona, it was the crown event in 2020, was on March the 11th, which is 11 days prior, to the spring or vernal equinox. So we can account for those 11 days either by the Babylonian tradition of the 11 days of ritual preparation. Well, it was between 11 and 13, or 11 days, the 11-day loss between the crossover between the Gregorian and Julian calendar. So
Now, one thing
Yeah.
I would need to ask about Ezekiel's vision here that connects to this, is this the same vision of the, this is the same vision of his vision of the wheel, right? It's this vision of the throne and the wheel are the same thing?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the astrological calendar.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Even the idea of the wheels within wheels and the eyes,
The animals outside the wheels.
well, yeah, that's astrological as well. So it's those are the four faces of God. What those relate to is what you see on the World Tarot card, which is effectively the four royal stars of Persia. And the four royal stars of Persia are, and I'll give the constellations as well. So you have, we'll begin with the man. So the face of the man is Aquarius, or the constellation is Pisces Austrinus, which is the southern fish. That relates to the royal star of Fomalhaut. And then we go right to that of the eagle or the scorpion. And that is, of course, the constellation Scorpio, that of Antares. Quite literally, by the way, Antares, we're talking about Tron Aries, or Ares. Antares is actually literally means against Aries or against war, right?
Yep.
Interestingly. And then we go down to that of Leo Regulus, the lion, and to the left, which is the bull, Taurus. By the way, Truman drove, I don't know if people picked up on this in the movie, he drove a Ford Taurus, right? I mean, you literally couldn't make this up. There's more to his license plate as well, but he drove a Ford Taurus, right? The Taurus is obviously the symbol of the earth. And you have to remember, like Mithras, you have to sacrifice the earth to thus be reborn as the man. It's
Yep.
all this.
And we were just looking at the, I think they're talking about the rite of Mithras, and they're doing Mithraean rites in the UFOnauts book. The secret cipher of the UFOnauts. They're talking about like Memphis of Mizraim and rites of Mithras. Yeah, this is all over the place.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So it's the same thing. A lot of it ties in with the mystery religions, and it's basically based upon a lot of these prophetic and religious visions, ecstatic visions. And yeah, so Taurus is obviously Aldebaran. If you align all of those, again, this is where the World Tarot card comes in. If you align all of those four royal stars, they come to both the constellation of Cassiopeia, which means she who is of the throne. It's this idea of biannually, she literally like an hourglass will flip around. You know, again, Ezekiel's vision, who was on the throne, right? This thing which is chained to the throne, which is the will, which is the fire of the will, the primal fire. It's chained to the throne, and it flips 180 like an hourglass, resetting itself within the cycles. That's what this Ezekiel's vision means. And then, moreover, as well, the wheels within wheels, which you have that of the eyes that dot around the wheels. That is effectively what that's conveying in a purely symbolic sense, is that all of time is wheels within wheels, densities within densities, loops within loops. It's the same idea as the Olympic symbol, by the way.
Well, simulacrum within simulacrum, like the book in the Matrix, yeah.
And what ties it all together is the perception. If you look through the zoetrope, which quite literally means from Greek, the wheel of life, which is a very early pre-film animation technology, it's like the Stairway to Heaven lyric, right? There's two, as Robert Plant states in that Stairway to Heaven, very eerie song, right? But anyway, he mentions that there's two roads you can go down, but in the long run, it's not too late to change the road you're on. What does he mean by that? Well, it's the same thing that he mentions later on in the song. You know, every word has two meanings, right? And effectively, it's this idea of the fool's journey. It doesn't really matter what path you go down. You can go clockwise or anti-clockwise round the wheel, pardon. But ultimately, it's like the zoetrope. The only effectively, you're either experiencing the illusion of the zoetrope, its animate illusion, clockwise or anti-clockwise, but ultimately you're experiencing the same illusion. The only way to extricate yourself from the illusion, right, is to basically take your perception away from it, to take your focus away from it, or of course to raise your vantage point of perception, so you understand that in fact you're not looking through the slits of the zoetrope. You understand that it's all just a grand cyclical illusion, right?
Hence the stairway to heaven.
Hence the stairway to heaven, right? The stairway to heaven is to gain that vantage point.
Yeah.
Again, the fatal slope.
And this is the tracing board, Masonic tracing board, and the ladder on the tracing board.
Yes, but yeah, it's the ladder and the tracing board as well. Do you know that? Well, of course, that links with the pathway of the sun, right?
Mm-hmm.
The pathway of the sun, when it draws out its first light, it draws it out like a ladder, right? Like that ladder. That's how the Masons see it, or it's at least how Albert Pike sees it in Morals and Dogma. But also, you'll find on that ladder, the Masonic ladder, there's always three levels to it, right? 3 astrological signs or symbols or zodiacal signs. Effectively, that's because between each 4 of the cardinal points of the zodiac, if you count between each of them, if you draw a ladder between each of those cardinal points, you will get 3 separate zodiacal signs, and of course, accounting for the beginning and end zodiacal points of the cardinal points, you're going to get all 4 of the mutable elements, right?
Okay.
So earth, air, fire, or water. So that's how that effectively it's worshipping the dawn. That's what they worship as well.
Yeah, they love their god of the dawn, that Shahar. I was surprised I found that the other day.
Shahar, yeah. Shahar.
Which seems to separate it it separates itself, at least in some of their occulted religions, from the evening star. It's not the same thing to some of them. It becomes something different. You have the son of the dawns, and then you have the evening star, which would be Venus, which would likely be feminine, I'm guessing, to them.
Yeah, well, the way they see it, they see Venus as both the morning and evening star.
Yeah,
so it's interesting, jump in, man, sorry.
I was just going to say, in Son of the Dawn, and it seems like in some of these interpretations, doesn't even have anything to do with that. It's like a totally separate entity. Yes.
Well, if you look at, for example, oh God, what's I think it was either Rabbi Cordovera, who was a Kabbalist, Cordoveran Kabbalah, and also his contemporary at the time, Isaac Luria. It was either one or the two. I forget who mentioned it now in their commentaries, but it's interesting because you have Shahar, who is dawn. It literally means dawn or daybreak in Hebrew, but you also have Shilim, right? Or Shalim, which is the twin god of dusk, right?
Yeah, Salem, basically. Salem.
Yes, that's well. I was going to get into that. Yeah, that's another potential etymology of Yerushalim or Jerusalem.
Yeah, and we also
the city of the dusk.
So you have Jerusalem, like you just said, and we have Shehar, also another place in Israel. So these are two also cities in Israel.
Yes. And that twin aspect also ties in with Gemini. Effectively, what it is that man is both. Man has a twin essence to him, right? He's both mortal and immortal. It's the same idea as our 5 appendages, which establishes the star, or the quote-quote fallen star. Effectively, we have the four mutable elements, right? Our 2 arms and our 2 legs. Those are that which expresses or manifests the will's desire through action. And then we have the 5th, which is that of the immutable. It's that of the fragment of God, or what have you, right? So that's what that's discussing. It's what it's tying into somewhat, just based around solar imagery, essentially. Pardon, sorry. Yeah.
And it's interesting too that they have the Shahar as a unisex god. Of course.
Oh yeah. I'm pretty sure because Shahar was Ugaritic. Yeah, it mentions there. Yeah, so both Shalom and Shahar were Ugaritic. That's from basically Phoenicia and those areas up there.
Yeah, it's an older entity.
Exactly, and he was always depicted, I believe, as hermaphroditic as well.
This is interesting.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, that also appears in the Old Testament. If you read, of course, it gets translated differently, but it mentions that in the Old Testament, obviously the King James version, that Yahweh is as radiant as the sun. Yahweh is the radiant sun, right? And it also mentions at the same time that Yahweh is in fact his hiding place is the darkness, and he finds solace within the darkness, which is his canopy, right? And so effectively what it's saying is Yahweh is almost like a black sun, right? But if Yahweh is Shahar, he must also be Shalom, right? Or Shalom or Shalim. So it's he's the twin essence, he's the twin God. Basically, when you boil it down, when you really get deeply into Cabalistic metaphysics, ultimately we are the demiurge, we are Yahweh. In fact, Yahweh is the Yod He Vah He. He's the God of this world. The God of this world because, well, effectively, he's the 4 elements, right? The 4 elements is the God of this world. It's essentially our body. It's literally the expression of action, it's the expression of our will through action, right? It's fundamentally that's. And by the way, if you take Yod He Vah He and you actually flip it, stack it vertically, it creates the human being. So it's it's unfortunately a lot of what Christians have to understand, both people who are Jewish adherents and Muslim adherents, is that when you start to look at the architecture and the architects of the revealed religions of Abrahamism, both Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, ultimately in the Zohar, as we see, they have a secret of the faith, right? There's a secret of the faith of all revealed religions. Behind them is a priest class who have their own interpretation of the religion, of the myths, of the parables, whatever it may be, the analogies, whatever it may be, which encompass and allow them to hide with more resolutely, to hide this truth from the laity, right? That's so you will always, if you have a revealed religion, you will always have a mystery religion that birthed it, because the priest class is that which constitutes both the mystery religion, and they are the architects of the revealed religion, which is effectively the dumbed down version for the laity.
Exactly. And here we have, like you were saying, if Yahweh is one, he's also the other. I mean, the lady, Asherah, which is an aspect of Yahweh, it becomes Ishtar, It becomes a start, and I mean, we were just talking about the lady before, who they keep saying all these UFO, and instead of UFO knots, we should call them UFO nuts. Keep saying this is the entity that's going to come in 2027 that they worship, and it's interesting how the Semitic root of this name, whole, safe, sound, peace, safe, sound, peace, safety, security. It's like it's literally like describing how they take more and more freedom from everyone through the what should I say, the illusion of safety and security.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Everything you're seeing here, even this idea of the dawn and the dusk, effectively what we're also seeing here is that all of their alchemical great work, their magnum opus, right, the Tikkun, all of it, it's all astrotheological, and it's based around the solar cycle. Why is that so important? Well, we understand that Shakespeare essentially invented the modern English language. Why? Well, firstly, Shakespeare isn't Shakespeare. He's simply just
one of the spear shakers, or a bunch of them.
Exactly, which ties in with the dusk and the dawn as well, right? What did Set do to defend Ra? While he was steering the boat within the underworld, he shaked the spear at that of a Pep or Apophis, right, which was actual primordial chaos. So it's little tricks like this that these people use, right? They're cluing you in, right? It's a nod, wink, wink to the inner crowd. But yeah, all of it's based around the solar cycle. Why? Because again, as we know, modern English was totally invented by the likes of Shakespeare. The soul, as we would spell it, S-O-U-L, our soul, our spirit. In Latin, that is S-O-L, which means sun. So the solar cycle, and by the way, the R of the solar cycle, the R at the end of that is the Resh. The Resh is the head. The Resh is a Hebrew letter. From its pictographic or hieroglyphic origins, it's that of the head, right? So effectively what you're seeing is the solar cycle, which is what they base all of this around, right? Again, when the sun goes into its sojourn in the underworld, it goes into the winter of death and discomfort. And then from that discomfort and death and putrefaction, it's reborn in the dawn.
Born in Aries, usually.
Born in Aries, bingo. Exactly. Tron Aries, exactly. So it's, yeah.
Well, even that, but that should be changing. So it shouldn't be Aries anymore, right? It should be changing as the age is changing now.
It should, yeah. Yeah. So
we'll see whenever the hell that starts to happen.
Well, Aquarius and that, yeah. The onset of Aquarius. So it's, funnily enough, I mean, talking about the Truman Show, it talks about the Truman. So when we first see Truman, this is interesting, by the way, just as a little side note, this ties in with the solar cycle.
And then I have something too that'll tie in right after that.
Yeah. So really quickly, Truman has basically, he's going through his Saturn return, right? What you're seeing is Truman is in his 29.5 years of life, right? We know that because when it starts off, we see 10,000, the Truman Show has been running uninterrupted for 10,901 days or something like that. You do the maths and it, figures out to like 29.8 years. What that is that, right, firstly, this ties in with both Saturn and the moon.
It's a lunar cycle, right, almost?
The lunar cycle is, yes. If you count the lunar months of 13 months, you have lunar cycles which are standardized to 29.5 days. That, effectively, that is meaning that the moon is the regulator of the mundane, right? And of course, it regulates procreation. You go to Saturn. Saturn is the regulator of the grand solar cycle, if you will, right? He's the director of the solar cycle, the Christoph, if you will, who the man in the moon, if you will, right?
Exactly.
So it's That's 29.5 years. That's its orbital cycle. So the Saturn return typically denotes that point where it's like a threshold in life. You know, I mean, it's the point of no return. You're leaving your youth behind. You're leaving the dawn behind, if you will, right? The ignorance of the fool behind. So it's that notion. There's other notions to it. Again, it just depends really what sources you're reading and how you interpret it. But that's typically how it was seen, and it was it was lots of rituals surrounding this in the ancient times, right? And it was surrounding this idea of cyclical change and things like that. But
Well,
yeah,
and
so yeah.
before we move on, I think that it's important to point this out too, as while part of the dark priesthood and social engineers are worshipping and putting out various lesser incarnations of this solar system that you're talking about, they're also worshipping and studying the actual root of the word soul, which is psyche, and they're becoming psychologists, and they're all becoming philosophers of the mind. And this is where we start getting into black magic and the manipulation of the mind through mind control. So it's like they basically hid the word soul, the true word for it, which is psyche, or at least a root word for it, which is psyche, and they turned it into, like they took, I don't even know how to explain what they're doing here. It's like they physically manifested, they made a physical manifestation of it for people to worship instead of looking for it in themselves as their own psyche.
Yeah, they'll always do that. They'll always externalize things, because once you externalize it, you have total control over it. It's the same with psychology, by the way. So you see it. It's very similar to the idea within Greek. The meaning is basically like a ghost or a soul, or
that's what it says here.
It's
spirit, ghost, soul.
Yeah, and it's very similar to the German Geist, where we actually get our term ghost from. So it's similar in how it view, in its view of the meaning of that concept. It's a similar concept. So it's and in Latin it's also the noumena, but or anima. And ultimately what you're seeing with that is, if what they're attempting to do is externalize the ghost in the machine, right? And I think they realized they couldn't externalize that. They couldn't thus control it, materialize it. So it's like what all material systems will do. And I mean, all systems of power are material, because power can only exert itself on the material plane. Thus, everything must become contorted to materialism itself for that reason. When they realized they couldn't control the Geist, right, directly, what they had to do, in fact, was to distract the Geist, and to even to detach one's mind and one's body from the Geist itself, right, from the psyche. So that's another thing that we see really going on with all of this too. And by the way, I just wanted to mention that 1st of July, that was the date that it was actually discovered, right? That 3-eye atlas as well. Sorry, just to go on that was a massive tangent and digression, but yeah, that was the 1st of July, which links with Ezekiel's vision. That's when
it's interesting looking at this image that reminds me of the triune, what is it? What's the trident, basically, the Sea People's trident. I also see a 3-eye atlas shrugged with the shoulders here in this symbol, if you consider the arms coming off the eye. Yeah. And I think that's a good it's a good example of how a lot of this can be just seen as a metaphorical projection of psychological manipulation.
Yeah.
By these people who have studied this forever.
Well, that itself is actually the psi letter. So the psi letter in Greek is well, it's effectively it's a loan letter. It's a loaned letter from the Phoenician alphabet, which becomes the Shin letter.
Yep.
So the Shin is the penultimate letter, and this, of course, the letter preceding that is that of the Tav letter. That's quite important as well. But the Shin letter, if you look at a bird's eye view of Dealey Plaza, if you look at First Kings, pardon me, Second Kings 21:7 as well. Anyone out there, you know, turn your Bibles to this page. You know, this.
Are you looking for this?
That's the one. Yeah, you'll see it's the Psi letter. It's the same idea.
And, there we are. There we are, right here.
Yeah. And you'll notice the diacritic mark. There's basically, if the diacritic mark is in the mid left of that column, it becomes a sin, and if it's at the mid, if it's at the top left, it's a shin. But that's exactly where the sniper's nest was, Oswald. So it's the Shin. If the dot is there, it becomes the Shin. Why is that important? Well, that links, of course, with the Sumerian word for the moon, which you see in Mount Sinai or Sinai, literally the mount of the moon station, or the moon station itself.
Well, also synagogue. I mean, Jesus Christ, these people were worshiping the moon or sin.
Yep.
For a very long time.
Absolutely. And also as well, remember, when we go on the honeymoon, so remember we have the marriage, right? These are all interesting things that we'll get into in another discussion. But one thing is the honeymoon, right? So what occurs on the honeymoon after the marriage, right? The marriage. Well, of course, we get the honey is created for the moon, right? The food of the gods, this notion. The new souls are brought into the world, right? That's, of course, when you... the most love-making, should we say, is... that's when you're at your most fertile and prolific, is during the honeymoon, right? It's when love is just... you're at a high within your relationship. So, again, the honeymoon, right? The honey is created for the moon. This also ties in with the rose symbolism. That's one aspect of that. The moon itself, so the Shin letter, if you turn your Bibles to 2 Kings 21:7, it states that the name of the Lord is etched into Jerusalem. If you type in Shin letter Jerusalem, it becomes so utterly apparent what is etched into Jerusalem, which is the letter Shin. And then we go to Poseidon, who was the Lord of the Earth. And by the way, this will tie in with Ea, which is Sumerian, it's Enki, Akkadian, it's Ea, which is pronounced Yah, right? Hence Yahweh later on in Westerns.
That is also what, what's his name? God damn it. Oh, Wilhelm Reich called one of the orbs he would see Ea, or primordial matter.
Exactly, yes, the prima materia, which is the fresh water. It's the Apsu, or the Abzu, where we get our term abyss from. It's the freshwater aquifers, literally the water that came from the subterranean realm, the aquifers. Yeah, so it's exactly that. And so Ea encompasses all of that. Poseidon, of course, had a temple. Well, he was very crucial and prominent with the Atlantis myth, but he had a temple in the center of Atlantis. Poseidon in Attic Greek literally means Lord of the Earth. So does Enki in Sumerian, Lord of the Earth. Ea or Yam probably means power. It may mean, there's a whole host of potential interpretations.
Yeah, when Reich was using it, it was like there were two things. It was like what's the word? It was an acronym for something else, like two different words that I can't even remember what the hell they were at this point. And then he also called it, I think, primordial matter, or the prima materia.
Yeah, and that also ties in as well with the E and the A. So the E literally means which in Sumerian and somewhat Akkadian as well, is that of house or temple, or even it could even be relating to a god, right? And the A is it was shown as the cuneiform, which almost looked like an upward facing triangle. This is where we get the phallus symbol from in the hexagram. It's it was that of literal, it was seen as falling rain, like precipitation, like water dripping down. So that's again EA. So literally the house of, or the body, or the god of the primordial waters. The prima materia is another idea. So yeah, he was also tied with the trident, and then Shiva was tied with the trishula, which is the trident as well. This W shape.
Oh yeah. And sorry to cut you off. I mean, I don't want to do that. If you want to keep going, my bad. I just had one little comment to make about the Sin letter.
Oh, jump in, man. Jump in.
Or the Shin, I should say. The position in the alphabet being 21 is interesting because that, if you think of September 21st, that's about the time of the time of Set. It would be the time of the what am I looking for? Not the which equinox are we going for? Why am I'm drawing a blank here.
Well, the 21st is typically on all. Well, the 22nd is typically when all equinoxes occur on every month.
Not equinoxes. March
and
around.
Solstices.
You have around March 31st. You have the beginning of the calendar for some reason. Is it just maybe because it's the start of the winters, and March 31st is the start of the spring? This would have been like in the old calendar, like why the calendars were supposedly starting in Nisan or March, and then once you got to September 21st, you start the fall. Like you basically the fall underneath the wheel into the darker, colder months.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes.
I'm trying to figure out what the hell it's called. I'm drawing a blank on what the hell the date's actually called.
Oh, are you talking about the Hebrew month?
No, because the Shin was the 21st letter, and I know September 21st is around this time of year. That
so it's the autumnal equinox.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
So it's well, the autumnal equinox, like what
So you have the spring equinox in March, and then the autumnal equinox is usually around September 21st. And it's just interesting that the Shin letter is the 21st letter.
Well, yeah. Well, that also as well. Remember, so all the solstices. So for example, the summer solstice occurs on the 22nd of June. It can occur on the 23rd, depending on your time zone, but typically it's between the 21st and 23rd. But on average, it's the 22nd of the month.
Yeah. It goes back a little bit back and forth.
Forth. And again, it depends upon your time zone as well. But the 22 itself relates to that. The average of the 22 relates to the tarot card. Of course, there's 22 cards in the tarot deck. The 21, remember. So remember, there's 22 Hebrew letters too. But the 21 relates to the world. And what is the world? Well, it's effectively like what we were stating with Ezekiel's vision, right? It's the four faces of God, which are the four seasons, which are the four major Zodiacal world ages in each major processional cycle as well. And moreover as well, it's the four cardinal immutable points, if you will. Mm-hmm. It's that which dictates all of the major archetypes and cycles and what have you. And moreover as well, it's the literal world itself. It's the idea that the world is born by decay. This is a very important, salient, and crucial thing to understand for people when you're looking into Kabbalah, is that the Kabbalah sees the agent of time. It sees its God as well, by the way, as this, or the spirit, at least it venerates, is not necessarily order, which puts pay to the chaos, but that it is in fact chaos itself which establishes order. Complete inversion. Total inversion.
Oh,
You know,
listen to this too.
that's the world.
Do you remember that band Earth, Wind, and Fire?
No, I don't actually know.
So they have a song called September. And the lyrics start, do you remember the 21st night of September? Love was changing the minds of pretender while chasing the clouds away. I mean, it'll keep going and get into all this esoteric sort of talk. It talks about golden dreams and shiny days at the end of it. But yeah, so it's interesting that they have the 21st there too, and I'm thinking that connects more to what you're saying about it being the world and the prima materia.
Yes, and as well, remember it's the equalizing point. The autumnal equinox is the equalizing point. So it's if you were to view it, it's almost I might be recalling this incorrectly, so don't quote me on this, but the autumnal equinox is linked with Libra. So it's linked with this idea of Malkuth, the Shekinah, right? Which is the world, and it's contained within the world. By the way, that's taken directly from Sumerian mythology and Akkadian mythology, because you had, instead of the Shekinah, you had Ninhursag, who was quite literally the world itself, the earth itself, which is exactly what the Shekinah is, or the Nukva, two interchangeable terms, and that of Kabbalah, right? There's slight differences between the Shekinah and Nukva, but it's negligible conceptually. And so that is the autumnal equinox. That, again, like what you're stating, that's when the sun is traveling through the twilight, or it's about to go into twilight, right? And then that of the spring or vernal equinox is that of Zeranpin or Keter or the crown. It's that of the dawn. And we were even talking about, well, I'll get into Atlas as well.
Yeah.
3-eye Atlas and that. So the 3-eye is actually the 3 states of the Ein Sof, but we'll get into that a bit later on. So the name Atlas is the most significant element evoking deep mythological and cosmic themes. In mythology, in Greek mythology, Atlas was a titan condemned by Zeus to hold up the celestial spheres for eternity. This is also similar, by the way, to Sisyphus and Prometheus, which effectively reflect what we abide within, right? This sort of absurdity of reality.
Yes, Sisyphus especially.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And another one is Ixion. He was in Hades, and he was racked upon the wheel, and the wheel was spinning eternally, and he could never escape. Same idea. He is a symbol of immense burden, cosmic responsibility, and the support of the heavens. A comet named after him, especially an interstellar one, suggests it's a celestial messenger carrying a profound, perhaps burdensome, cosmic truth from beyond the solar system. The comet could be seen as the physical manifestation of this cosmic load, or a signifier of a coming shift in the celestial order, reflecting, or of course the terrestrial order, reflecting Atlas's eternal struggle. Again, the eternal struggle, like the agent of time, right? Like the 21st world card of the tarot deck, the world card, which is quite literally Cassiopeia and the serpent itself, which is another, the Draco constellation, Thuban, which was a previous pole star. That is literally time, right? It wraps around the Cassiopeia, the female at the center of the world, who's You'll notice, see if you were to overlay the zodiacal wheel on the world tarot card as well, just to mention, is that it's almost like she's running the hamster wheel, right?
Yep.
And she is looking backwards. And she's attempting to run backwards as well to get back to the past, right? It's similar, like what we're always attempting to do once we reach our Saturn return. We reach the 30 mark and we're like, oh, I want to be young again, right?
Well,
I'm
that's
starting to get
that's
into
what's
that
interesting
mindset too,
about that Tron Aries idea,
Mm.
because it's like Aries, we're not there anymore. That should be the rising sign. Should be something different, but no, they want to keep us in Aries. It seems.
Yes. Well, they want you in that constant state of the Devil Tarot card as well, which is that you're in the carnal state, that you're drunk on ignorance perpetually. You are like the you're like an automaton, essentially an automaton of revelry, and you just enjoy the revelry. You enjoy the monotony of forgetfulness, essentially, of mindlessness, like the lotus eaters from that of Homer's The Odyssey.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's effectively that. That's what you're seeing in the World Tarot. She's looking back. She's trying to run to get to the back to the past, right? And because, again, this is how Saturn controls us as well. It controls us through time, right? And the time is not necessarily something we necessarily understand or we necessarily view in the present or in the future. Time is something wholly of the past. That's when it becomes tangible as a concept to us, right? So we're always chasing the past, or she at least is. But by chasing the past, by her running backwards, she's in fact producing the opposite motion within the wheel. The wheel is in fact moving clockwise, right? So she's attempting to run anti-clockwise, but in fact, the wheel is running clockwise. This is, by the way, this is seen within the magical systems as the diurnal and nocturnal, the two differences between those two, like what we were stating with the dawn and the dusk, or even the Shekinah and the Zeranpin, the autumnal equinox and the vernal equinox, the dawn, the dusk, same idea. Effectively, one is that of chaos. The anti-clockwise is the nocturnal. It literally is, it's chaos, it's destruction. And and the chaos and destruction is that which actually propels forth the creative destruction idea of Kabbalah. It propels forth the clockwise motion of the zodiacal wheel. I mean, these are really pretty trippy concepts when you boil them down. And effectively, what it's discussing is how to control time itself, how to control the cycles, and how the cycles are. And it's speaking about these things in illustrative, symbolic, in an illustrative, symbolic language. But yeah, it states, quote, "The name Atlas doesn't just describe the event. It becomes the symbolic burden placed upon the world's leaders. The PSYOP would be framed as a global crisis that requires a unified, unprecedented response. The burden of the heavens that Atlas carries would be equated with the immense pressure and responsibility of managing the supposed alien threat. This narrative creates a powerful justification for the establishment of a new, globally unified authority, a savior entity that can handle this cosmic burden. It's not a conspiracy. It's a fated necessity. The aliens would be presented as a celestial force, and the response would be framed as humanity's collective effort to hold up the heavens or to prevent a cosmic collapse of it. So the 3i interstellar designation would be used to portray the event as a genuine cosmic intervention. It's not from Mars or Jupiter, it's from beyond our known solar system, making it more transcendent and mysterious. This is a classic psychological tactic. The more unknown and alien the source, the more power it holds, right? It's the same idea as, turning something into an ancient or antiquarian idea or object, right? It becomes more valuable, if you will. So yeah, the more unknown, the more power it holds over the human imagination. It taps into the deepest fears and desires for contact with the other. The burden of new knowledge isn't just a philosophical concept. it's the justification for the PSYOP's hidden agenda. The new truth that the fake aliens bring could be a Trojan horse for new laws, new technologies, or a new global order in and of itself, all presented as a necessary response to the truth beyond our known world. The 3i isn't, I've already mentioned that. So yeah, the 3i idea is Cabalistic, right? This is why Avi Loeb, the dual citizen, is involved in this all, right? So the 3i relates to the three parts of the Ein, right? So you have the Ein Sof, and the Ein Sof Hour. The Ein is the nothingness, the Ein Sof is limitlessness, and Ein Sof Hour is limitless light. Now, effectively, what you're seeing there is a descent, a trinity, a triplicity of descent down to the Keter, and then the Keter descends in a trinity between Hokmah and Bina, and then of course you have the seven, right? The seven lower Sephira. That relates to the seven planetary genii, beginning with Saturn, and of course ending with the Sun in classical astronomy. So 3i, Ein, nothingness. So the Ein, or nothingness, the first stage would be the initial baffling discovery. The object would be nothing. This is another individual, by the way. I should put quotations around this. The object would be nothing in terms of known celestial mechanics. It would behave erratically, defying scientific classification as a comet, asteroid, etc. So this period would be total confusion, right? This is the nothingness, the void, the potential which is waiting to be dynamically parsed and processed by the world and the media. And then you get into the Ein Sof, the limitlessness, right? The second stage would be the manufactured revelation of the alien nature of the object. Pardon me. Suddenly, data would emerge or be leaked, showing the object's limitless potential, almost impossible capabilities, its speed, its trajectory, its apparent ability to defy physics. This, of course, would represent the Ein Sof, right? The limitlessness, right? So you have the nothingness, then it evolves into the limitlessness. This is how it could go in terms of the media trajectory. And then you get into the Ein Sof Hour, the limitless light, right? So these are the 3i's. The final and most crucial stage of the PSYOP would be the arrival of the light. The fake alien invasion would not be a dark, destructive force. It would be heralded as a bringer of a new light, a new dawn for humanity, a Lucifer, a Shahar, if you will. This would manifest in the PSYOP as projected holographic images, a celestial messenger appearing in the sky, or a powerful unifying message that emanates into creation. This quote-unquote light would be a manufactured spiritual and technological enlightenment, presented as a gift from the aliens or the gods, right? And the 3i's as well also links with the Cabalistic system. So remember, the I is the column, right? That's what the capital I, that's its figure. This is figurative form, it's a column. The 3i's links with the three column system, which is what Kabbalah also calls itself. Even the idea of Project Blue Beam, the beam itself is a pillar. The blue is that of the water. So it's the watery illusion. It's the subconscious. It's something that's attacking your very subconscious associations with, be it religion all the way to contemporary pop culture. So it's touching upon those ideas. Blue also means destruction, by the way. In Kabbalah, it's the blue of the flame. It's that part of the flame which in fact burns the fat of the wick. This also is seen in that very interesting and mysterious, well, not so mysterious once you understand what Bowie is speaking to, but very mysterious in terms, when you first initially see it. Even the music's quite mysterious. Of Black Star. he has that same idea, right, of the wick and the candle, and in the center of it all, your eye, right, your eyes, because ultimately that's all there is, perception.
And it's also
Nothing exists but
you
the dreamer.
rise. You rise in the center
You
of it all.
rise, bingo, yes.
And if you remember the Dark Knight, there is a scene in the Dark Knight. The Dark Knight Rises, actually, I think. So, where after Batman's back is broken by Bane, he gets thrown down the center of the prison in the middle of nowhere, and they start chanting something. Now, what the chant is supposed to say, and what they told everyone it said, is rise. That's what the movie says. It says it's what the guy who's in the prison with Bruce Wayne or Christian Bale, whatever you want to call him. That's what they tell Bruce Wayne they're saying. But really, oddly, in typical Cabalistic style, they're actually saying, "Come quickly."
Yes, I see. Interesting. Yes, exactly.
And "come quickly," that's like a biblical quote as well. I mean, that's from, I think, Revelation.
I think it is. I forget where in Revelation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something about saying that tell something about
there we go.
they
Revelation.
want they want the Lord to come quickly.
22:12. Yeah, Revelation 22:12. Behold, I am coming soon. Or look at where is that? Yeah, basically, yeah, come quickly. That's what it is. Behold, I am coming quickly, and my reward is with me, to give to each as is his work. Yeah, that's that.
Now, see, I don't know how to interpret that, even coming from Nolan, because I'm like, did he do that because he's not in alignment with the darker message, and he's actually more in alignment with like a Christian message, like a traditional Christian message? Because the rise would be, you think to rise would be the transhumanist sort of idea. Come quickly would almost be like, let the tower fall and let whatever comes, come what may. Like, it doesn't matter. We're spiritual beings. We live on. I don't know.
Yes, it's. See, I'm going to go out on a limb and say here that what actually the symbolism you see in the Book of Revelation, in fact, is mirror. A lot of it mirrors the Tikkun, but that's not necessarily saying that. See, I'm not necessarily saying Christ is in fact Cabalistic as a symbol, because in fact he's not. Right?
Yeah.
Perhaps. See, I notice this a lot where they tend to take the symbol of Christ, and it's almost like they pervert it in symbolism, and they pervert it in media. And in essence, what they attempt to do is to turn it into this almost Adam Kadmon figure, this primordial state of man, this thing which
like almost a Lucifer or even like the Metatron, Genon type of thing too.
Exactly, bingo. That's what they turn it into. But it's a very materialistic. The way they view it is materialistic, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to viewing it as. I mean, the way I view it is that, and I think we would all view it here, that it's God that repairs man. We cannot actually see ourselves as we have to believe, just for our own sanity and to maintain our ego, we have to ensure that we subscribe to the notion that we are not, in fact, the orbital center of the world. We are not gods. Otherwise, yes, we're fragments of the divine, but we're not necessarily gods in a material.
Well, see, and I think Nolan, as much as people may say he has messages that are definitely in line with some occult views. That film in particular, not the whole entire trilogy, but the last one, it does seem to sort of reflect the message that you're saying there, because what does the character playing Batman do? he actually fakes his death and gets the hell out, stops being this vigilante because he realizes he can't keep playing God because he's not God. I'm wondering if almost the come quickly being spoken in Arabic by those people is them praying for a higher power to sort of help Christian Bale get out of that impossible situation. I don't know. Why would he put the wrong words in Arabic in there if it's supposed to mean rise? It just is, it's strange.
Yeah, it is
He also
strange,
shows us in
arguably.
I think it's in the film before, he shows us the surveillance system that they pretty much probably have operating everywhere now when he's trying to track the Joker down. So he might be doing what he can to sort of not totally, at least, promote the darker transhumanist aspects of the occult.
I think a lot of the videos that I've or films rather that I've seen, not just from Nolan, but even Fight Club and things such as that, the Truman Show, and of course there's other ones. Another one, by the way, recently was Until Dawn, and I think they're touching upon Gnostic ideas, I guess you could call them.
Yes. No, I agree with that.
I think they're attempting to awaken people, but there's a few. Of course, there's a few films out there that are just clearly touching upon occult themes where they're clearly perverting aspects. So, for example, the archetypal image of Christ, they're completely perverting that.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one with Nolan's Dark Knight Rises. You have the Sandy Hook thing, right? That also appeared in there as a small little Easter egg, a tidbit. You know, when they're looking at the map, and I think it's either Inspector, was his name Inspector Graham or something? Gordon, Inspector Gordon, and or the Batman. They point to it. I think it's Inspector Gordon. He points to it. So he points on the map of Gotham, and it just so happens he points to a place called, Sandy Hook.
Mm-hmm.
I know. It's yeah. The predictive programming is insane, and I mean that was around about the same time. And then of course the Dark Knight Rises was also associated with. We were talking about Shahar, associated with Aurora.
Well, that was Dark Knight was Dark Knight, right? Dark Knight, I get confused, but I think Dark Knight was the Joker one. And then Dark Knight Rises is the Bane one, right?
Oh, yes, I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
You may be correct
I
there.
just was watching a video that what's their group? What's Austin Picard and his channel? What are they called? The Already Dead is the podcast. I think they were doing a special episode on James Holmes yesterday. So that's the only reason I'm like have this even in my head at all.
Well, it's interesting because Aurora in Latin means dawn. So I mean, it's it was the Dark Knight Rises, by the way. It was 2012. Yeah, you're right.
Wait, Rises was 2012.
Yeah, that was the Aurora shooting in Colorado.
Oh, so then which one was the Dark Knight? Wait, I'm confused then. Because I thought Rises was the one with Bane. Wait, the Dark Knight Rises had Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Gary, where the hell? Tom Hardy. Wait, no, it can't be the 2012 one because that's the one with Bane in it. And he went to the one with, unless he went to the one in 2012. But I don't think he did. I think he went to the Dark Knight, so it had to be earlier than 2012.
No, it was definitely 2012. That was when the shooting took place.
What?
Yeah.
So Dark Knight came out in 2008.
July 20th, 2012. Yeah, Dark Knight Rises came out in 2012, yeah.
So he went out dressed as the Joker. See, I remember going to the theater. I thought I remember going to the theater before the one with the Joker with Heath Ledger, and then this happening around that time. But apparently that means this happened before the third film, the final film with Bane. So he's dressed as the Joker, but the Joker isn't even in it. Or at least he has hair color that's like a
Yes.
people would interpret it would be close to the Joker. Yeah.
And also as well, I mean, there's things that are very peculiar.
Oh yeah.
Surrounding.
Yeah, I don't even know if he
Oh God,
knew what he was doing. If he did anything at all, who knows? There's so much stuff that guy was.
I mean, in the courtroom, he was just like completely out of it. Clearly, he had been dosed up. He didn't even know where the hell he was. You could see he was completely disorientated, and moreover as well, what you have to remember with James Holmes, he was a very intelligent individual. He had essentially his entire life ahead of him. He was in he was in UCLA, UC Berkeley, Stanford University. He had degrees. So he was a mathematician and scientist. His father, Robert Holmes, is a mathematician and scientist with degrees from Stanford University, UCLA, UC Berkeley, and his mother's a registered nurse. His father's very interesting, by the way. If you look into him, he's associated with the intelligence services. But
I just shared the link for the Underclass podcast. That's the name of the podcast that Austin Picard was doing yesterday on James Holmes. If anyone wants to check it out, they did a very good job. And there's even more from the girl who he's having the interview with, and her channel's on that, underneath that interview.
Yeah, he's very interesting case. That I mean, of course, it's this is going up to YouTube, so I won't say very much on it, but he had a graduate degree in neuroscience from the University of California, Riverside in 2010.
Yeah, so you can honestly say whatever you want. They were talking pretty freely.
Right.
So I think it's an old enough event at this point where they don't give a shit.
It's clearly it was a fictitious thing. The early 2010 shootings were all pretty much fictions.
Either that or they were like some sort of a mixed reality sort of events. And by that, I mean, part of it's real. Maybe people got hurt, but there's other things going on, like parallel construction events being built up simultaneously in tandem with whatever Holmes is doing to make it look like Holmes is actually doing this all on his own when really he's being set up by some other external force because he's being experimented on, as he was being experimented on since he went to these college programs he went to.
Yeah, exactly what happened to the Unabomber, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what happened to the Unabomber. MK Ultra, essentially. But you also find with all of these shootings, even Sandy Hook, of course, there's the connections through the Dark Knight movies. But with Sandy Hook, what was his name? Adam Lanza. His father was actually involved in the LIBOR scandal at the time. So there was, I mean, that's just actually scratching the surface. It's been so long. I'm not really not up to scratch with that case. But thinking back now, it was just so unbelievable. I mean, of course, a lot of it was circumstantial evidence, but a lot of it was fairly.
There's a lot. There's a lot with that one. That one they still don't like you talking about anywhere for some reason.
Yeah, well, it's because they messed up so badly, I think, with that one.
Well, they were trying to use. I think they were trying to use a lot of technology too, a little too early. They had some videos of Lanza that you could see that aren't like they had like videos that they had of him supposedly at an arcade before the event that didn't. They were clearly not legitimate. Like it was there were glitches in the video. You have his face glitching out, his body morphing. It's obviously an AI thing. And now we're back to AI.
Yes.
And it's not making the same mistakes anymore. So no worries now.
No, they've got it all perfect now. Yeah. So it's Yeah, well, of course, they brought out Alex Jones and set up that entire fake court case,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you know, essentially attempted to set the precedent to destroy free speech and to shut them down. Under the guise of these supposed victims, or whoever the hell they are. Because I mean, there was I totally agree with you. There was a surreality with all of these events. They were completely insane. Even the way that the individuals were acting. Their child had just. There was a few cases where they're in these shootings in the early 2010s where their child had just died, and they're sitting smiling and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
oh, they were so great, and in front of the TV camera, like, oh my god, this is my 15 minutes of fame. My child's just died, but oh yeah, they were. It's so unbelievably hilarious, and then you have the likes of R. Parker, if you know him. I'm referring to. Where when he
Yep.
realizes that the TV cameras are on and rolling,
Oh yeah,
he
yeah.
he gets into character. So, and also, I mean, with the likes of Newtown, a day before, I think it was a day before, they had was that day before? No, it was the month before. All of the houses had been sold, and if you look at the various mortgages that were paid off, of the
Oh
whole
yeah, I remember
houses,
this. Yeah,
they
yeah,
were all paid off.
yeah.
About a month prior, and it was like in a quick succession, to the point where it just didn't make sense. Clearly, it was hush money by the government. So to go along with this all, that area, by the way, as well, that was also a whistleblower, I believe, came out years and years later, maybe in 2015 or 16, and he mentioned that Newtown was in fact an area that was used for it was used by the CIA, right? It was basically the CIA set up these fake, and the intelligence services in general set up fake towns, right? Hence
Like
why it was called Newtown.
Potemkin villages, basically.
Exactly, yeah. And they just simply use it for cover.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
Well,
yeah.
it's interesting because I didn't know that during the Aurora theater event, apparently at a college very nearby, within a few miles, if not less. I can't remember the name of the college right now. I'd have to watch that video again on the Underclass podcast. They're doing just guess what they're doing at the college.
What are they doing?
A simulation event where a theater is being attacked by a gunman.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
And they're doing like like how they do the emergency sort of preparedness drills, and that's what they're doing at that college, their university. Same day, same time, like so all it's happening at the same time.
Yeah,
And it's interesting, you look at how many of these have happened in Aurora. There's 3 different mass shootings in 2 in Aurora, Colorado, 1 in Aurora, Illinois. That's quite weird. And then if you look at the name of James, I think it's James Egan Holmes, and you look at H.H. Holmes, I think his name is really like Hubert Egan Holmes, or his father's name is Egan or something like that, Holmes. It's like, and he was from Chicago, Illinois area, and that's the area that James Holmes is going to school in. It's just like, what? Like, what is going on here?
It's very, you start to see these very weird connections throughout. I mean, it's not just those two. It's pretty much all of the various those various shootings in the early 2010s. None of them make sense. It's just very, again, it's peculiar. It's something. It makes you go, and of course a lot of it's anecdotal. But there's things where it's clear, irrefutable. I mean, I was viewing this all as it was going on in 2012 at the time. It was irrefutable proof that there was evidence that it was something was going on. something fishy was going, especially SH, right? That place. There was some weird going on there. Just again with all of the money that was going here, there, everywhere. The mortgages that were getting paid off. The way that the individuals were, the parents, victims were, or pardon me, the victims were acting, right? The parents of the victims were acting on camera. It's just very weird. Very weird. But again, this ties in with what we're discussing with this fake alien invasion. Even, of course, the hysteria surrounding that of the UFO and the UFO knots and this entire UFO phenomenon. And the abductee phenomenon. That was a similar thing. All of it is designed to psychologically prepare and to corral psychologically the mass of the population into new patterns of behavior and thinking, or to
same with the corona.
Exactly. It's there's a term for this. It's called hypernormalization. It's where individuals begin to, well, it's brought about by a progressive, gradual, almost like the frog in the pot boiling, right?
It's the Michael Hoffman refers to it as the Society of Spectacle, right? Basically, exactly. Grand society, something like that.
Exactly, the Society of Spectacle, where you're progressively, by osmosis, assimilated into this hyper-normalized thinking, which is basically you normalize the hyper unreal, the completely surreal, things that really make no sense. And by the way, social media is at the fore of this. Social media is at the fore of this. So it's TikTok and things such as that, right? YouTube as well, Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever. All of these social media platforms are at the fore of this, where the way people's interactions are occurring they're beginning to become surreal, right? People are beginning to put more prevalence and value, and place more value rather, on their parasocial relationships, meaning the relationships they have on the online platforms, than they do with real relationships, and even the way that they act, or of course react to content, or produce content themselves on these social media platforms. That's not just videos, that's even posts and such. Even consuming that content, it begins to alter one's mind, right? And you have to be very, very careful what the hell you're watching. You have to be very careful as well what you perhaps are giving your time to as well, because you have to be constantly cognizant of the fact when you're on social media and you're scrolling through news feeds, that what it's doing is mentally terraforming you. That's what it's designed to do. And again, it's to bring you into this hyper-normalized state of being, where the surreal becomes completely normal to you, right? That's why, of course, now you can transition into a woman. This is the hyper-reality we're living in, right? You can transition, a man can transition into a woman, but at the same time, a woman, if you ask someone what is a woman, they will have no definition of it, right? One of the woke individuals, of course, right? So even Congress, Congress men and women have also, it's brought up blanks in their mind when they've been asked what is a woman.
And by the way, I want to make sure I correct this. I'm not sure if he called it the Society of the Spectacle. There might be a different thing he mentions, but the Society of the Spectacle is a Marxist book, so maybe he uses it to reference what the modus operandi is of the social engineers. I'm trying to find my book. If I had my book, the Twilight Language book, and it's in the other room, I would tell you exactly what he calls it. But I know he mentions the spectacle being put on and the disenchantment of the society and their unwillingness to do anything about it. But the Society of the Spectacle originally is actually a French, or at least originally in our timeline, is a French book written by Guy Debord.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a Marxist idea, which makes sense.
Yeah. The society, well, it does make sense. Yeah, it's the most of the postmodern thinkers as well. Even that.
Wait, here. Listen to this. So, in this analysis of the spectacular society, the board notes that the quality of life is impoverished with such a lack of authenticity that human perceptions are affected, and an attendant degradation of knowledge, which in turn hinders critical thought. The board analyzes the use of knowledge to assuage reality. The spectacle obfuscates past, imploding it with the future into an undifferentiated mass, a type of never-ending present. In this way, the spectacle prevents individuals from realizing that the society of the spectacle is only a moment in history, one that can be overturned through revolution.
Yeah,
which is weird because it's almost like they're So it seems like this would be the... Wait, is he an anarchist? Is this guy an anarchist or a socialist?
I think he's.
I think he's this guy's
straight socialist.
This guy seems like a socialist, which of course they'd call for revolution, and they'd get their ass kicked, and nothing would happen.
Here we go from Mr. Rioso. The Society of the Spectacle is a critique of contemporary consumer culture and commodity fetishism, dealing with issues such as class alienation, cultural homogenization, and mass media. I'm pretty sure the Society of the Spectacle was also featured in a Fight Club.
And Fight Club is very socialist. In
no, it wasn't featured in Fight Club, but it was mentioned by. It was either the director or I forget his name now, or the author, as one of the inspirational works of.
Absolutely, and that was a socialist message if you think about it. It really was. It was like, what does he say? You buy things that you don't need, blah blah blah. Get rid of your belongings. You know what I mean? Like, it's basically the live in a commune with a bunch of guys. And a bunch of people, and forget everything you've ever owned, forget personal property. Yeah,
but this is the thing as well. What he mentioned regarding, what you come to own will eventually own you. That's very true.
That's very true, which is the problem with all of this stuff presented in Hollywood, because they mix in half-truth. They mix in truth with lies, and as Rudolf Steiner would always say, that is the most dangerous type of speaking anyone could ever do.
Exactly. Yeah, effectively you're seeing with Tyler Durden. Tyler Durden is the demagogish, cliched communist leader, like a Che Guevara type. Or even a Fidel Castro, that becomes this absolutely insane, who speaks truth, but behind the truth there is a man of just pure, unadulterated lies, that he even lies to himself regarding his own nature. He's not good. He doesn't want good.
Here, listen.
Power.
This is thesis 134 from the Society of Spectacle. Only those who do not work live.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's where we start coming into problems, because we were talking about before, if you have nothing that you need to do to get through the day, and your whole life is just pleasure, you're basically going to implode in the opposite direction Like it's just the same thing, different spectrum. Brave New World instead of 1984. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yes. Oh, it's exactly what I state here as well. So just reading this really quickly, and then I'll probably have to head off, man.
Okay.
It aligns with the three eye. So where is this? Yeah. So the three eye Atlas fake alien invasion comet, pardon. It is a 5 years. It's 5 years after the majority of the needle crafts. I've already mentioned that. Yeah, so another thing to mention is that what we're seeing in the geopolitical stage, so this Russo-Ukraine war, is that there's a need for this type of fiction within the American geopolitical system, right? And that system is based on the entire narrative that power projects throughout the ages. You know, well, pardon me, this power projects throughout the ages, so it's not necessarily American, but the American geopolitical system. We'll just use that as a sort of catch-all term, right? To mention or to describe the current global hegemon. To reassert its interests globally through a war with Iran and the fragmentation of the Russian Federation before it wrests control of Ukraine and half of the grain supply of the world from the US. So that's what Russia is attempting to do. I mean, it's quite a masterful move with the Russo-Ukraine thing. Again, narratively speaking, right? These exports feed approximately 400 million people per annum, with the majority of these being situated in the resource-rich and Western jaded global South. Naturally, if the US possesses the universal credit token of their global protection racket, the dollar, then the only axis of attack is by monopolizing tangible and necessary resources like food, which consequently diminish the confidence held in the US dollar, and at that point, its clear lack of exchangeability for resources. So basically, if you, instead of trying to defeat the dollar by creating a rival reserve currency, you simply destroy the dollar by destroying its exchangeability for resources, because you control all of the resources, or you control, for example, in the case of Russia and Ukraine, you control, what was that, like 50% of the grain supply worldwide or something. In terms of China, due to the Chinese reliance on the dollar system and the over-leveraging of the Chinese economy, then it is unlikely that China will enter into direct military conflict with the US. However, if the US, like the Thucydides trap of old, this is a script that constantly replays, or at least most of the time, that saw Athens abandon its democratic and primitive humanistic principles, invades and annexes other lands as a means of staving off the inevitable yet progressive deterioration of its economic and political system, then it may draw the ire of the rest of the world and its near-peer competitors, as did Athens. In such a scenario, China may seek to undermine the US militarily. In short, like any protection racket, if the victims begin to resist in a substantial and precedent-setting manner, and further, if the mafioso does not quickly set about rectifying this egregious undermining of its authority, then the protection racket will cease to be, and the mafioso will be swiftly dispatched. Naturally, all of this is a fiction, but to maintain the belief surrounding the reality of this projected narrative, which is what perpetuates the alchemical political state of power, then it is crucial that the projectors of power, the people, are made to rationalize in their imagination the evolution and expansion of power through these geopolitical dramas that are carried out on the world stage. From this rationalization, they formulate the reality in their imagination, and then that reality becomes projected onto the canvas of the world. And then you have, from Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. You have this very famous line which is Richard Dreyfuss, who is the director of the Meta Theatre, the play within a play. He
It's
states that,
hilarious you just mentioned him.
Really?
I was just talking about yeah, 'cause I was just watching Jaws the other day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Dreyfus, yeah. But he mentions we're actors. We're the opposite of people, right? So it's exactly what the majority of the masses are. They're actors. They're the majority of people. They're the opposite of people. Pardon. So all of these scripts, alchemical dramas designed to establish everything from nothing, which is what Kabbalah is. It's this idea. Hence the Ein or Ein Sof and double bookkeeping or fiat monetary system. Again, everything from nothing. In essence, power is born from the mind, the collective imagination that is steered from the multitude of false memories and false beliefs inculcated in the populace, which form the basis of the pious fiction or noble lie that power requires to exist and persist. The imagination is born of the word, the idea, and through generational conditioning via propaganda and events, educational brainwashing, and cataclysmic events. It begins to instill in the epigenetic memory and zeitgeist of the people a certain predisposition towards the desired modality of thinking, doing, and being that augments and perpetuates power. On the stage, any stage, there is this implicit assumption that there is no objective reality besides what is portrayed to the audience and actors alike. And that both the audience and actors dwell in this isolated fantasy of the drama, this hyper reality. That was written by the now unseen playwright and directed by the scarce and seldom seen director. Unfortunately for the most, these fictions become sacred cows after a while, and man himself has a strong tendency to simply believe the reality in which he is presented, without question and with little to no hesitation. Again, false memories carry with them the instruction of the engineered meme, which in turn inspires actions and ideas in the populace, the conduit, that are conducive to the future vision and interests of the power elite. Power is alchemy, politics is theatre, society is orchestration, people are actors, nations are stages, economics is audience participation. It is all a charade, a masquerade, and an imitation of objective reality, that which is beyond our immediate access and comprehension. The fathomless noumenon, and it is in the desert of the barrenness of knowledge that the fallen stars of man find themselves at the mercy of the weavers of dreams and the merchants of illusion. So there's a little more to that, but pretty much that covers it. That's if they're going to pull the fake alien invasion card, that's ultimately what's behind it.
I love it. I mean, I'm trying to think if we missed anything really quick. Let me see what the chat's saying right now. You nailed that, by the way. Where the hell did my chat go? Can you see the chat?
I see my chat on it.
Oh, they're there. Okay, we got Russia, America run China, Orwell Huxley. I watched Jaws the other day. Yeah, everyone's watching it. It's so weird. I'm trying to think if we missed anything there.
Mr. Rioso mentions that in Debord's treatment, modern society forces culture to constantly reappropriate or reinvent itself, copying and repackaging old ideas. Quote, ideas improve, the meaning of words participates in the improvement. Plagiarism is necessary, progress implies it. That's an interesting thought. It embraces an author's phrase, makes use of his expressions, erases a false idea, and replaces it with the right idea, unquote. Interesting.
There was something else I'd heard the other day that James Truce said about objective reality and the definitions of words. And he was talking about how these AI models actually seem not to, like, I guess he mentions two papers. I'm just going to take him at his word that this is what happened, that they were never programmed based on the definitions of words. They were programmed based on the relationships between words that were being used and how to analyze those relationships between words to then understand how to, I guess, interpret and then respond to those words and those languages. So it was like, it didn't matter what the definition was because they'd essentially be pulling the definition out of
the context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's and it's interesting because if you think about it, that's kind of how we learn as children.
Funnily enough, in fact, when I do any sort of form of writing, that's typically when you're dealing with concepts that are, like what we're discussing right now, it's easier to use analogy and poetry and metaphor, to convey it. So in essence, the words that you not necessarily string together, that sounds a bit, like I'm just chucking it together. But it's when you string these words together into a sentence, and then into a paragraph and what have you, these sentences into paragraphs. The way I write, it's almost I'm trying to convey like a symbol, like a context, like an illustrative context.
Yeah,
I think I've just personally, I've always enjoyed poets and authors who write like that. They don't really they don't really write as though each word is a self-contained meaning.
No, exactly. It's like an intuitive. They're getting an intuitive stream basically from the source, essentially, like the more positive side. If they're at least if they're inclined to have that type of personality, because I'm sure at the same time you could be channeling negative sort of ideas and be writing those ideas down. But I mean, it's obvious when there's something that's truthful and beautiful that's said, that's intuitive. It's almost like you're pulling it from the future in a sense, from a different time.
Exactly. It's this idea of the superposition of potentiality and all of that. Meaning you can retrocausality, that you can jump because there's a quantum entanglement of all the experiences that have been or ever will be. You can,
and obviously I have to argue about quantum entanglement being nonsense, and I have to just say, if everything's just a holographic projection, that means the littlest mark in a hologram is going to affect the entire fractalized hologram, no matter where it is. So I mean, we're just connected through like an ether. So those, wherever you are in time, that ether is there. That field is there. I think that's even a better way. This way you don't get this spooky action at a distance, stupid particle atomist idea.
Well, even with the reason I use those terms as well is just because it's.
Well, I know, It's just that's just how they use it because, and they're
very materialistic as well.
Yeah,
not all of them. But the ones who are not materialists, they are usually ousted by the orthodoxy. And I mean, even the idea of the wave function collapse.
Yeah, this is something we brought up once before, and I'm
totally vague, by the way. It's something that would come out of the. It's basically a placeholder, meaning they relating to or conveying the fact that they do not know, because they're materialists, so they can't necessarily contemplate it. The wave function collapse, but that's the idea of the pure potentiality going from a state of unconsciousness to a differentiated conscious state, where it goes into disparity and all of this, right? So
well, and this is, I think, this little idea that we've just mentioned at the end is going to be the make or break point for them as to whether or not they can achieve their transhumanist goals and transfer consciousness through the means they think they understand.
Exactly. Yeah. Well,
I think they're gonna have a problem with that.
Yeah.
personally.
Well, the thing is, all conspiracies, at any point they can break down, but typically right before they're about to, spring the final trap, if you will, on their oppressors or whatever it may be. Um, that's the point where everything can go, as we say in Britain, absolutely tits up.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's at that point it's the threads are worn so thin that the conspiracy itself almost becomes evident because it's so close to its objectives. So it becomes evident to those it targets, which of course in this context is us. So we become ever more cognizant. The closer they get, ever more cognizant of their of their presence, of what they desire,
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
of their conspiratorial aims. So, yeah,
Exactly.
they will fail.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just hope that they don't fail so hard that it takes everyone else out with it, or with them.
Well, that's the other potential.
Oh man, what do you think? Should we call it?
Well, yeah, I'll have to head to bed, man. I'm slurring my speech here.
No, I think that's a good place right there. I enjoyed the show. Thank you for coming on, brother.
No, it's absolute pleasure as always, man. It's good to catch up with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Always
It's been
fun.
too long. It's been too long. And thank you, everyone who came and joined the chat. I'm surprised so many people came. It's actually a good thing. Hope you guys come next time we do something. You still there, Silas?
Yes, absolute.
Yes. And Silas's link is in the description. Besides, if you want to share yours, mine's youtube.com/Chris Miner official. My Linktree/Chris Miner link is in the description as well. Follow Silas.
Yeah, sorry there. Sorry about that. I had myself on mute, so that's
Oh,
why
no
there's
problem,
a
no
bit of
problem.
a awkward pause there. It's a late night mistake, but yeah, I'm at Silas Speaks. You can also find my books, Silas Gautier. The way you spell Gautier is Gauthier. You can also email me at silasspeaks@gmail.com. If I know obviously if the cost of living and such, if you can't afford the books directly, I can provide you a PDFs of all of my books. So if you can't spare any any coinage, then I can simply just give you the books for free.
That's the type of guy Silas is.
Information.
For real. Silas is a great guy. He is. So appreciate this, man, for doing that for all you jabronis out there who can't afford $10.
Well, some of the books now are getting beyond.
Are they expensive now? Yeah, I'm sure they.
No, it's Lulu keeps putting them up because, like in the past 3 years. So my first book, I set it at like £20 or something, 25, something like that, and now they've put it up to like £45. You know.
So what's that in America? It's what it's half here or double?
I'd say it's pretty much the same now. Almost.
Okay.
Maybe it's maybe a little more. Maybe like $47 or something in US money.
But, damn. Yeah, gotta get that free PDF thing, guys. Because you gotta fee, especially if you live in California. But if you can, help him out because my boy puts in so much work for real. Silas, you impress me all the time, as you do everyone else. Let's definitely talk again soon.
Yeah, dude. Take it easy, man.
Yeah, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Later. And thank you, everyone in the chat. See you again soon. Have a good night.